Premier, thank you for your time, very much appreciated. Now, let's just do a reflection back on where you are. You've been in office for about a year now. When you took into office and you made a speech earlier on in the year, there was a lot of criticism from the opposition officials about certain targets and promises that you'd made. If we reflect back to what you've been able to achieve, have you been able to meet your targets?
16 months ago, we started as the fifth administration, and I think we made a very solid commitment that we're going to introduce a lot of new ways of doing things, and I'm satisfied that the program we have put in place of transformation, modernization and reindustrialization of Gauteng province is something now that is the talk of town. It has caught fire. Every sector in this province is talking about the 10 pillars of transformation, modernization and reindustrialization, our own contribution to the National Development Plan. There are important processes underway now to make sure that, particularly at the level of projects that are supposed to be driven by government, because our program for transformation, modernization and reindustrialization involves different sectors of society. But there are certain things that must be done by government. There are things we're working with the business around to catalyze industrial development, and in some areas human settlements. There are also programs that we work with civil society around to mobilize communities on. I am pretty satisfied that on all those programs we are making substantial progress. If you ask me, has the last 16 months been worthwhile? I think they've been very worthwhile. The feedback we've been receiving from different sectors in our province is that we are on the right course. We need to pick up pace with regard to implementation, and that's what the focus of our program is. That's why we have this community outreach program that we call Tirisano. We now go into sites, we go into communities where projects are being implemented. We go into human settlements projects, housing delivery projects. We go into various infrastructure projects to come to understand those that are being implemented, where there are delays, why are they being delayed. We are also getting both civil servants and contractors to really jack up their boots. So that's what we're doing. We really all out there. We're spending time also getting from communities what their own sense of what we should be focusing on is. I'm finding this interaction with various sectors and direct engagements with communities very enriching.
Premier, is this where the war room comes in? This is what you're responding to in terms of service delivery. You said you're engaging with their community. What is it that they've been unhappy with?
I think the one experience about the implementation of the service delivery war room is that it has really helped us a great deal. Communities are very conscious of it. They are very aware. They're able to bring to our attention things that are going wrong. They're also able to bring to our attention and get us to work with them to unlock service delivery where things are too slow for their liking. So my experience over the past 16 months is that the service delivery war room that's now operating at every level, from provinces, municipalities, up to ward level, has been able to prove that you can have a responsive government. It has also been able to reduce the number of protests, particularly violent protests in communities, because I think now communities know that you don't have to fight or destroy infrastructure for government to listen to you, and that's why I've started in July now. We're visiting every community across Gauteng. We're spending 2 days a week, Wednesday afternoon up to Thursday evening. We're going everywhere in Gauteng to sit down with communities to look at things that are going well as well, not only those that are not going well. The projects that the communities are happy on and services, we also draw lessons from those to say, why are we getting it right in that area? What can we learn? But those that are not going well, that's naturally what people focus on in these meetings. They say, yeah, Premier, thank you for coming here, getting us to come and engage with you, to talk to you. We are not happy with this, but on that issue, we are very happy. So we are here to fix things that are not working, but also those that are working, to learn how we can multiply that everywhere in the province where things are working. We want to make this to work everywhere in the province.
Premier, can you give us some examples of things that you've been able to do? As a Gauteng citizen, one would want to know exactly what you talk about when you say service deliveries.
For example, we started in July in Hammanskraal. And look, when we got into the community, that's what I'm doing this afternoon. We go and look at the schools, what's happening in our schools. Some we may visit, others we may not. We go and look at the hospitals. We look at the police stations or a police station. What's happening? What are the key concerns? Are the government institutions functioning well? We look also at the projects that government is undertaking in every area, whether it's infrastructure, it's roads, or housing delivery. In many areas, without exception, the issues of housing delivery come to the fore. And that's something I understand very well. This province is under tremendous pressure due to a high rate of urbanization and in-migration. That housing is one of the key issues that arises everywhere, where people raise issues, incomplete houses. So some of those issues, we bring the officials to come and account, including the contractors. And we able to unlock that and say that I make commitments in these meetings that we will be back. Your problem is as follows. Within this period of time, we will be back to report back what has been done on that. And get to the departments and the municipalities to ensure that those issues people have raised that we can solve in the current financial year, let's solve them. I found that there are also issues in communities of crime, of nyaupe, drug problems amongst the youth. But the common issue is always that there are not enough, there are not adequate facilities for us to direct our children to go to more productive and recreational activities. And again, this helps us as government to look at the various programs we have for the youth.
Let's go back to that, because you also spoke about revitalizing townships.
Yes.
Let's talk about the programs that are in place now.
And the issue of the township economy revitalization, like housing, comes everywhere. Every meeting, there are people who stand up there and they say, Premier, we heard you talk about the township economy. We now have projects and that we want. There are many, actually, what is exciting, through this community outreach program, we're now coming across entrepreneurs in our townships, business people who have gone back to their spaza shops, some of them who had closed them down, they were no longer interested, they're just renting them out. What has galvanized small business people in our townships is the interest that, you know what, we want you, Premier, to come and see what we are doing. I mean, there are places where we found young people have established a new bakery. They say to me, in the past 12 months, we have established a new business. So how can government help us grow out of this? And we have a township economy revitalization strategy. So the MEC of Economic Development follows through in each of these cases with those business people who say, look, we have now gone back to our businesses. We want to take charge of our own small businesses in the townships. But government sometimes can be too slow in following through on this issue. So we have galvanized people, and what I'm now doing is to get every single department to focus on the support that is required to give to township entrepreneurs. In many areas, I think there's things that our municipalities and departments are doing. but we need to do much more.
You spoke about entrepreneurship and making sure that you do more. There's this perception, we speak to a lot of entrepreneurs, that government, like you said, may be too slow, and there's certain red tape that doesn't make the environment easy for them to thrive. The types of conversations that you are having with entrepreneurs, is this the feedback that you're getting? Certainly
to me. I think one of the things I've been saying to the mayors, I just came from addressing the executive committee, the mayoral committee in Ekurhuleni, and this point I'll raise everywhere when I engage with municipalities. We have a lot of bylaws that are not promoting what we are calling for, the revitalization of the township economy. So many entrepreneurs and township business people are saying that, but we have very prohibitive regulatory environment. We want to convert part of our house to do business because we are in an era where we want the full energies of our people to be unleashed. They can't wait for someone to employ them. The economy is not growing at the rate we need. So that's why we're calling on communities, particularly those who are able to get some business thing going, to stand up and do something. But the red tape and this prohibitive regulatory systems in our government have to be dealt with. So we now reviewing the bylaws. The MEC for economic development in our province is also going to every township, meeting with the township entrepreneurs to help them register in our database, but also to register their businesses properly, because we, as government, we can only assist those who are registered. And that's where we are helping them. Those that sometimes get punished by the municipal bylaws, they want to operate a legitimate, genuine business as part of the house, because the house is the only thing people have as a property where they can do most of their businesses. Otherwise, they will have to pay rent somewhere else. So we're now re-looking into these bylaws, municipal ordinances, and provincial regulations to make sure that they support an environment that will ensure the township enterprises and SMMEs and cooperatives grow in our communities. So we are reviewing that.
Are there any time frames put in place as to when we can see the new bylaws being put in place? You're reviewing them now?
We're reviewing them now because they are dealt with at different levels, and it includes different municipalities. I wish I could give a date, because it's not just the provincial government. If it was provincial government only, I could give the date. But I would like, for example, when I go to the State of the Province address in February next year, to give a significant progress on what is happening with supporting the township economy to thrive. And that would include changing the regulatory environment. So we will be able to give progress report by that time.
Let's talk about the non-entrepreneurs, and let's speak about the youth that is actively looking for jobs. Bad headlines around how many jobs South Africa is losing. The unemployment rate is very high. How are we going to be able to translate these billions of rands that you have into real jobs as opposed to job opportunities? And in which sectors in particular are you looking at targeting?
Yes, to me, you would remember that our program for transformation, modernization, and reindustrialization outlines the interventions we will make in 5 development corridors in Gauteng. That's in the east, in Ekurhuleni, in Tshwane, which is the northern corridor, in Johannesburg, which is the central corridor, in the West Rand, which is the western corridor, and in Sidibeng, which is the southern corridor. In each of those, we have identified key industrial interventions. For example, each of these corridors have got in industries that we must build on and enhance their capacity to grow, including to employ more people. And if I want to give you an example, we have said Tshwane is the automotive city, because we have a thriving automotive industry in Tshwane, which is supported by research and development institutions there, our universities, our research institutions. So what we're doing in Tshwane is to invest in expanding the potential of that economy, to grow out of from the automotive sector, but also in pursuit of innovation, developing new industries. So Ekurhuleni is our advanced manufacturing hub. Again, in my State of the Province address, I gave details on how we intervening, anchored around what we call the erythropolis, you know, the logistics and transport hub that the airport provides, and the related supportive industries, aviation, how we are working with the city. And I just came from addressing them once more to outline critical investment projects that will really help us create employment in that. We're doing the same in Johannesburg. Johannesburg is our finance, ICT, and pharmaceutical hub, and business services. So the interventions, again, in Johannesburg is to help ensure that we unlock the full potential of these sectors. West Rand, which is where we're coming today, this used to be the mining hub of Gauteng. You know, Gauteng developed as the city of gold, Egoli, because we were driven by the mining revolution in the early 20th century. But mining has significantly declined as a key driver of the economy here. I mean, there's been significant deindustrialization of the West Rand. So we are looking now in the West Rand. I've been here last week in Maruping. We are looking at tourism, growing the tourism sector. That Maruping site as a World Heritage Site is the new gold for us. We would like to invest in the infrastructure there. Every visitor to South Africa must say, I need to go to Maruping to see where we all come from. We are also investing in the expansion of the diversification of other sectors here in the West Rand. So in addition to tourism, we're working with the municipalities here in the city of Johannesburg to turn what is Lanseria Airport into a new airport city, post-apartheid airport city, and create new industries around it. So we're also engaging with the mining sector to look at opportunities on building new industries. For example, we want this huge tracts of land that the mining houses are not using. We want to use that land, for example, for the renewable energy industry. Some of the land, there may be deep mining underground. We may not be able to build houses, but we can put up solar farms on that. So that's what we're looking at for the West Rand, that renewable energy, tourism, and what are new economic nodes will help us create new employment. And the last one is Sidibeng, that's the south. There we want to harness the river to build what we call a new city there, a new river city along the bank of the Vaal River, create a more diversified economy. The economy in the Vaal used to rely too much on the steel industry, and the steel industry is going through difficulties. Jobs are being lost there. So we're looking at, and this, since the State of the Province address, we have now been following on each of these issues, working with municipalities, the private sector, to put this to full scale implementation. So I'm very confident that the future is looking good. Of course, the focus is always on the youth, and young people are edgy. And in all these interventions, we want to make sure that we create employment opportunities for the youth. But you can only do so by training them. That's why we have a program called SEPO 500,000, which is about training young people to upskill their employability, improve their skills, and direct them to opportunities where areas in the province and sectors where employment potential is much higher. So we have this program. We're also training more young people so that those who can establish their own businesses are assisted to do so as part of our township economy revitalization.
Premier, let me come in there because obviously you work within the framework of the National Development Plan.
Yes,
now, the Sustainable Development Goals, they have been put forward. Of course, this follows through from the Millennium Development Goals. There's been a huge focus on climate change. Now, the argument, we talk about industrializing. The argument has been that you can't industrialize and still do that sustainably. Is that true?
Well, let me first say that I'm very pleased that the UN has adopted what is the SDGs 2030. Particularly pleased that the UN has used 2030 as a timeline within which the world should have moved to a certain level of development. You know its significance. It's good for us as a country. Our National Development Plan uses 2030 as its timeline. So it's very good for us. It's very well aligned. Our provincial strategy, transformation, modernization, and reindustrialization is aligned fully with the National Development Plan and uses 2030 as the timeline. So now we are looking at the SDGs. That's the Sustainable Development Goals adopted by the UN in just this past week to look at aligning them. I believe that because one of the things that will help us to deal with climate change in a way that's consistent with building a new economy that's more sustainable, that's more ecologically sensitive, is to propagate the idea of green industrialization and reindustrialization. What do I mean by this? It is possible to industrialize in a way that you build, in other words, you build new industries and build your manufacturing capability in a way that is ecologically sustainable. There's no contradiction between industrialization and sustainability. You can do so. For example, we talk about the green and blue industries. For example, most of what we want to do with the renewable energy project is to create new jobs that are driven by ecologically sensitive industries. And in the old industries, for example, in Ekurhuleni, we have old industries that are being revitalized. A combination of new technologies that will ensure that, for example, we don't use the amount of energy that old industries have been using. And secondly, that the pollution, issues of pollution, new technologies help us to deal with pollution, to reduce our carbon footprint, and innovation is critical in that sense. So knowledge-based and innovation-driven industries are the key drivers of our new model of industrialization. So it is possible to industrialize, that's why we call it green industrialization and reindustrialization, to industrialize in an ecologically sustainable way.
And I assume that you'll be a big part of the EcoMobility Month, so you won't be driving to work, you'll be making use of the public transport system.
Yes, I think the EcoMobility festival that the city of Johannesburg is hosting, it's a very important aspect of the green agenda that we must all push. That's why I emphasize we need green industrialization and we should reduce the carbon footprint. We should promote the forms of mobility that encourage people to interact more easily, to walk more, to socialize more. Public transport is good also because it brings people together. You know, single car use damages our roads, but it's also severe. It puts pressure on individuals. It congests our roads. It pollutes our environment. Of course, the big thing about EcoMobility is that we must fast track the rollout of public transport system. We think we are on the right track. We need to fast track our plans on the BRT, expansion of the Gauteng, expansion of the new commuter rail system, the more modern rail system by PRASA will help us. So we look forward, and I can only call for the people of Gauteng to think outside the box. I know it's very inconvenient if people are used to driving on their own in cars. I mean, Sandton is already a congested node in our province. We must free that very creative economic space from the pressures of single car use and create a vibrant public transport system for people to move in and out of Sandton and everywhere in the province with ease. And the only way is to use, to expand our public transport, but also encourage people and build. We need to build our new human settlements in a way that people live closer to where they work. So you can take a bicycle from home to work. Unfortunately, I live in the periphery of this province. I live very far. I wish I could cycle every day to work. It would make me fit. It would make me healthy, and along the way, give me lots of time to meet people along the way, which is good for social cohesion.
Premier, thank you so much for your time. The very best of luck, and looking forward to speaking to you again and finding out the progress on those targets.